This is a continuation of my last Affinity Photo 2 video on changing the color of an image by using blending modes. In this video, we will be using the blending modes again, but now we're going to use our paintbrushes. Here we have a picture of a tiger. We're going to convert this image to black and white and then add color by using paint splatter, sort of like throwing paint against the wall. The first thing we need to do is to remove the background. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and select the Object Selection tool, and that's the one that looks like a little Hooters icon. So I'm going to click on that, and it's got a clock on it, and so we put the clock over where we want to select, and we wait for it to think. And so once we get our little crosshairs, then we're going to run our mouse over and select as much as we can with the mouse. And so we're going to get about there. And then we'll click down and that will select that part. Then we'll need to select the trunk. And then this piece over here, I don't know why it doesn't get this, but anyway. So now we've got a rough selection. So to refine it, we're going to go over here and select the Selection Brush tool and click on that, and then we're going to clean this up. So we'll just get rid of all this because we want all this outside selected. Now see how these little ants are kind of not running in a straight line? Well, that means that they need to be refined a little bit too. And then we're going to come over here and get rid of that, get rid of this, and come over here and get rid of this part, and until we have a selection. Then we'll need to go and take a look and see if we have anything that maybe we over selected or something. And we have some things here, one right here and one right here on his little head. And so we're going to go over and select subtract and then come back here and see if we can't make that a little bit better. So do that. And then right here. And so now the beauty of this little project is we don't really have to have an exact selection, but oh, I see something else down here, these little ants that aren't straight. Okay, so we have everything. Now what we need to do is to go up to select and then invert pixel selection. And the reason we have to do that is because I elected to, oh, we've got ants up here. Well, let's get this again and see if we can't get rid of these. Okay. The reason we do that is because what I did is I selected the background. So I want to get rid of the background, but if I hadn't inverted my pixel selection, what would have happened is it would have chosen the tiger and then deleted the tiger, and we don't want to do that. So if you don't want to go to invert pixel selection, then you're going to need to select the tiger and not the background. So this is just the way I do it. So now we need to go to refine, and to show that it selected the right thing, it did. The part that it selected and we're going to get rid of is the background. This selection actually looks pretty good. So for our output, we're going to go, and down here for our output is going to be new layer with mask and apply. So now we have the background gotten rid of, and the reason we want to do that is because basically all we really want is this tiger, and all we want out of this tiger is for him to be in black and white, and then everything else is going to be with our paintbrush and with our paints and our overlay. Okay, so the next thing we need to do, probably notice that we have two layers right now. We have this pixel layer, which is the selected layer, and then we have our original background layer. So this is where we should be right now. So now what we need to do is to select this pixel layer, go down here and click on Adjustments, and go up here to Black and White and click on Black and White, because we're going to make a black and white adjustment. Now what I like to do is for something like this, I don't want it to be too light, because what's going to happen is with the blacks is that's what's going to be absorbing our color in our paint. So I like to get it maybe as dark as I want without, losing too much of the detail. So I'll turn my reds down a little bit and then X that out. And then again, on our pixel layer, with our pixel layer selected, click on Adjustments again, and then go up to Threshold. There we are. There it is. You go up to Threshold, click on Threshold, and it will do that. Now I want to get the adjustment to where I get as much of my blacks in as I can without making it look like that. So that is not what we want to do, but I really want to get this to where I can get some blacks around there, but I don't want him to have like black eyes or anything. So I think we're going to leave it about like that. I mean, that does look a little dark, but I think I'm going to go with that. Well, maybe I'll turn it up a little bit. I don't remember what I did in my last 500 run-throughs of this. Okay, so I will take that. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So now I can X out of that. So now what we have is we have two of these adjustment layers that are sitting on top of this pixel layer. So what we want to do is to select the two adjustment layers and the pixel layer, and we want to right click and then click on Merge. Merge Selected. So we click on Merge Selected. That makes everything easy because we've already done all the adjustments that we need to do here, and we still have our background layer down here. See? Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to do our paints. To do this, we're going to select this background layer. Now we don't turn it on, because if we turn it on, this is what's going to happen. We don't want to turn it on, we want to select it because we want to put a pixel layer, we want to add a pixel layer, and we want to have it sitting on our, up on top of our background layer and below this other merged pixel layer, and I'm going to name that. I'm going to name it Paint, so we all don't get confused. Now what we want to do is, with this selected, we want to do a fill on it. Right now, notice that it's transparent. See, if we turn that off, you will see that we just have a transparent layer, but we don't want to do that. So we already have our white selected, and we can go to, well, here's another way of doing this. Edit and then fill with primary color. And that will fill it with a white color. Another way you can do that is to go over here to the paint bucket tool and then fill it with a paint bucket tool. So there are two ways of doing this. So now we have our paint and we have our pixel layer with our tiger on it turned off. Okay, so now we're going to select our paintbrush and we are going to click on red because that's the first one I'm going to start with. I'm going to go to brushes, and I already have this selected because I've been practicing with it. The one that I'm going to do is called In the Midnight Hour Splatters. So this is these are the splatters that I'm going to use, and the brush I'm going to select is 2047, Splatters and Drips 2047. To be perfectly honest, it really doesn't matter which one you pick. I just sort of messed around with it, and I found the one I liked, so that's the one that I picked. Okay, so with that one picked, and with our paintbrush tool selected, notice that when I go over like this, there's our first paint splatter. If you think that that's too big, you can make it smaller by hitting the bracket key, and that's what I did. I hit the left bracket key, and I made it a little bit smaller, so then I can make several splatters. If you want to make it bigger, you just hit the right bracket key. See, that makes that bigger. I'm not going to do this in any kind of order. I'm just going to do this and hope it turns out not looking weird. Okay, now I'll select a green and do some green splatter. And I'll go over here and select blue and do some blue splatter. The only one that I found that didn't look kind of odd was the yellow one. I really don't know why. I think another one I did was this one. So I want some nice color in this so that I have a nice splatter. And let me see, I think that is going to look good enough, but we won't really know. Well, let me see. I need, how about, oh, let's do this one. Here's an orange. Let's just do one orange up there somewhere. Okay, so we've done all of our splatters, and now we can turn our brushes off and go back to our layers, and there we have our paint splatters. So what we're going to do is we're going to move the paint splatter. See how there are tigers right there? The paint splatter, we're going to move it inside this pixel layer right here. So it's going to be nested in there, and it needs to be nested in there. It needs to be in a certain order, and you'll see what I mean once I get it in there. So there we go. And that's what it's supposed to be doing. This looks pretty creepy, and the reason it does is because we have not yet gone to the drop down and fiddled with our color. So we need to go down and fiddle with our menu right here, our merge layer menu. And again, just like the last video, I'm going to stick to the middle part because that's the part that will absorb the color into the black part. So all of our paint splatter has been absorbed into the black part of this tiger. Up here, it just looks really kind of strange. So, but there's all sorts of things you can choose from. I mean, one person's strange is another person's I love this. So it just kind of depends on what you want to do. We don't want to do color dodge because the color has just disappeared, and that would defeat the purpose of what we're doing. So I'll go up to, or down to lighter color, and I'll select lighter color, and that will be it. And so that will be the color of our tiger. But we are not done, because the next thing we want to do is we want to have an overlay on this. Now notice that this has a transparent background on it. If I weren't going to put an overlay on this, I would want to put a background on this to keep it from being transparent, like a white background. The next video I'm going to try to show you how to do different backgrounds to make it look neater and all that stuff. So right now, this is our paint splatter. We've done this to our tiger. Okay, the first thing I want to do is to select background, and I want another pixel layer. Well, I want a pixel layer up here. So I want a pixel layer up here because this is what we're going to be putting our overlay on. So I'll go down to File, and then I'll go Place, and then I'll pick the abstract. We're actually putting it on that top pixel layer. Open, and we're going to put it here. So that's pretty much going to cover up our tiger, and we want it to cover up everything, so we need to do that and make sure that it's covered everything up. Now we need to merge it with our our tiger layer. So I'm going to go down to this, darken, or we have multiply, color burn, linear burn, darker color. So all we need to do is to pick the one that we like the best. Every time I do this, the color that I like the best is always different, and it's probably because my paint splatter is always different. I'm kind of liking this one, but one thing I don't like about it is that it's a little bit, okay. I actually really like this one. I didn't like that one before. Then there's color. Oh, I hate that one. There's linear, there's multiply and darken. So let me see. Multiply, color burn, no, linear burn. I think I'm going to go with multiply. So I'm going to choose multiply. You can get all sorts of designs depending on how you do your paint and depending what overlay you pick. As I said, I have like, I don't know, 15 of them. And we will take a look at everything, make sure that it's good to go. So, and as I said, you can use the end painting brush tool to get rid of some of this stuff if you want to. So, let your imagination run wild, and you can have your own piece of abstract art. So give it a try. To get the brushes I downloaded, go to the website in the description of this video. They're Photoshop brushes, but they're compatible with Affinity Photo 2. Remember to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. And while you're at it, check out my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can support my channel. I also make posts there every now and then.